Hey guys, welcome to the Heart of David. The topic today that I want to speak about, you may not want to hear anything about this, and you have heard so much about it in the last, I don't even know how long it's been since Charlie Kirk was assassinated, but let's just call it a week. There's some things that I believe in God, I believe in the truth, and I know there's so much deception out there, but there are some things that are so questionable that it's just unacceptable to speak about, right? And maybe you guys feel the same. I gotta put on my glasses, man. Maybe you guys feel the same. I'm going to play something to you, not at this second, but you'll understand what I'm saying is not untrue. I lived through, so how old was I? 8, 9, 10, 11? I was 22, because I was born later in that year when 9/11 happened, okay? I don't even know what I'll call this video. Synagogue of Satan. So I'm afraid to flip in between my windows here so it doesn't shut off. But you're well aware of what Revelation 2:9 and Revelation 3:9 says about the synagogue of Satan, and that people say that, well, you can't apply it to this day. Yes, you can. Those who say they're Jews and they are not, it could be a whole system application. And someone said I was being lazy on that theology. But Zionism is evil. It's evil. People call them the chosen people of God, and the chosen people of God are those who accept Jesus Christ. We are Israel spiritually. We are Jews spiritually. You cannot, when you look in the book of Zechariah, so I'm going to talk about those things. About the things that happened and the things that I thought immediately when some things happen. So I'm 46. I say that a lot to give you an idea that I remember things. That they will see him whom they had pierced. So that's Zechariah. What the book of Zechariah is talking about is the day of the Lord, and people think that miraculously, what you want to call the Jews, will suddenly say, oh, I accept him suddenly, all of a sudden. That's not the way it goes. That'll be the day of the Lord, a terrible day, right? And just the theme of Zechariah, 10 to 14, is the day of the Lord. And I know there's something that you can contest in there, but that's too much for this video. I didn't understand Zechariah myself for the longest time until I realized it was they're talking about the resurrection. When Jesus comes at the last day. And it's not easy to discern that either. Ask liberally from God about the book of Zechariah. So let's talk about this world today. Isaiah 66. Of which people think is the fulfillment of the Jews coming back into the land, and they became a nation suddenly in 1948, but yet they had been there all along. If you look closely at Isaiah 66, it's about who has heard such things, who has seen such things. That doesn't mean looking at them announcing their new Zionist state. No, That is that's heaven on earth they're talking about in there. And if you skip to the closer to the bottom of Isaiah 66, it makes it very clear it is the millennial kingdom. That's what Isaiah was about Jesus. He was, man, Isaiah's visions were all about Jesus Christ. Not all of them, but the prophecies all strewn throughout. And that's why when Jesus came, he talked about them a lot. Isaiah, he spoke of Isaiah the prophet the most. Because he gave Isaiah, wow, what a lucky man Isaiah, eh? Send me, right? Woe for me, I'm a man of unclean lips. He saw Jesus, he was glad about Jesus. He wrote Isaiah 53, so he knew. In any case, of course it would only be fitting that the end of Isaiah would be about heaven, not the birth of Israel. There is none. Parable of the vineyard. What's he going to do to those people? What's he going to do to those wicked vine dressers? To give it to someone else. So on the last day, Jesus comes back. All eyes will see him, whom they pierced, and all the people who are in Israel who have not accepted the Lord. There is no preferential special treatment. That's the basis of this. But so what am I talking about here anyways in this video? I've wanted to talk about this, but let's just start with October 7th. As I've told you guys, I spent a lot of my sick days when I was couch and bed bound, mostly couch bound, for a number of years. But before that even, I was reading, watching a lot of stuff about war. World War II, World War I, the Vietnam War, all the wars surrounding the 1900s, and older wars too, in history. But I'd also watch a lot of future weapons shows, stuff like that. And a lot of it focused on Israel. Everyone in Israel is a soldier, as Charlie Kirk says. And a helicopter takes 45 minutes to get across. It's the size of New Jersey. Very small. How is it possible that for even 1 hour, when that attack began, they didn't know? They have sensors all over the place. They probably have drones all over the place, all along the border walls. They knew, and you know they knew there was an attack coming. Yes, I do believe it was a stand-down order, and that's what Charlie Kirk was beginning to say. Is it possible they silenced him? I would say a portion of evidence is pointing towards yes. A portion. I'm not saying for sure that was, okay? But there was... Israel is probably one of the #1 countries on earth that goes around to all the countries of the earth to assassinate people. They are probably the leader of it. Not Iran, not Russia, not probably even the United States. There was a lot of donations going around there to... Whether they were blackmailing or not, I don't know, but this is what I know. He was starting to say that. He was pro-Israel, and he started to turn against that because he was fitting things together. He was seeing the evil of Benjamin Netanyahu, and he was starting to fear, and I could see the fear in his eyes on the PBD Patrick Bet-David podcast. His thoughts are my thoughts. That's exactly what I thought around October 7th and 8th. That's what I thought. How is this even possible? They're an Army, Air Force nation. That's what they are. And they push that out to the world because they are. Because they're always living in fear. They have to save their lives, right? That's the only reason why they've become what they've become. because they were born out of war. So what would be the reason? So I'm going to play something to you. So what I'm saying is not empty. The soldiers of the IDF are saying they were given a stand-down order. Pardon me. Do you believe it? It's not hard to see why they would want to do it to get rid of Palestine. To cleanse it. I'm not saying to kill them all, I'm saying to move them to somewhere else. You know, they're going on with their war that they knew was coming. So it wouldn't be a full red flag, it would be like a half. Because what's it called? A false flag event is one where you construct completely by yourself. But Hamas really did attack, but they funded them. I don't know how they funded them, but anyways, you'll hear. So the benefits to looking for something to finalize, like a final solution type thing. You know, like, I don't even want to say this, but I believe probably this is what happened. Not because the IDF soldiers were given a stand-down order. Some armies of the world do this. You know, you think of the United States in the Tonkin event, right? And then also in the Spanish Civil War. I forget exactly what that event is right now. Had something to do with the ship, though, didn't it? I don't know. So, when I was 22 years old, my brother wakes me up, says, "Come downstairs quick, look on the TV." Twin Towers, and then I saw the second one crash in. I think it was live. I believe I saw the second one crashing live. It's funny, at one of Charlie Kirk event, a guy comes up to the microphone, and he's so excited. And he's trying to talk to him about, they are the synagogue of Satan. And I think they play that on the Patrick Bed David. They show a clip of that. You can go look for that, where the guy comes up, and Charlie's like, "You have a weird worldview," but he is listening to him, and he's telling them how evil they are. And as stupid as it might look to some people, the guy was spitting out a lot of truth to Charlie Kirk about it. And in any case, it looks, you know, like that Turning Point USA, that they're trying to pay him, give him donations to have a favorable light on Israel. Because guess what? I'm going to talk about the Twin Towers. They're gathering a lot of different enemies. They just bombed Qatar. Like, I get who's there, but there's evil people in a lot of places. You just can't do that. And now they have they're having an Arab NATO now. An attack on one is an attack on all. That's crazy. That could be Ezekiel, but you know, you say Saudi Arabia. How does that? Because, you know, Sheba and Dedan. But it's happening in real time. But Twin Towers happened. Those steel beams. They're starting to question whether there was people on those planes, not 93, but the other ones. And that after that, they hid this for a long time. The dancing Jews. There's about 5 or 6 dancing Jews filming the Twin Towers going down in across the river, and they kept that under wraps for a long time. And then Netanyahu, he admitted that who would benefit, you know, start looking at things. Who would benefit from files destroyed? And then building 6 or 7, it fell. Guys, you know that shouldn't have happened. I don't care what they say. Those beams, you know, these are the very top people who who measure, who watch, who actually cause fires to watch the structural systems burn. They know that a beam should not burn at a certain temperature. And it was like 1,000 degrees below what it should have, but yet they did. It fell in a constructed way. If you noticed at the towers, 140 floors, they didn't go over this way, they all fell like this. Sorry, but that's impossible. That's impossible. Did every floor just go boom, boom, boom like that? I don't think so. So who would benefit the most from that? $17 trillion spent on the war on terror, of which Netanyahu was the man. I'm not talking about the people of Israel. I think they're good people. I think they tend to be some of the best people. I'm talking about their government. The Synagogue of Satan. Who benefits from it? They're afraid of Saddam Hussein. Saddam Hussein fought Iran. That was a big war. I think they lost like 500,000 people just on one side. Israel was the main benefactor of that. Yeah, sure, go take out my enemies. And remember, in that, Saddam Hussein fired a Scud missile at Israel. He did. There was no weapons of mass destruction. What evil. And what was it? 1 million Iraqis were killed? Wow. And then, so you're wondering why your country is in tatters? Because of all the money that was spent, and money that Canada spent, because we were right by your side. In Afghanistan, we had thousands of troops in there for 10 years. I went. Just kidding. What was it even about? And then a guy says, right before I saw this guy, and this is true, I forget his name, but he said, I have the video, which I'm going to do a video later. I'm going to do an edited video. You'll see it later. Right before the Twin Towers fell and all those things, a TV camera crew managed to track down Osama bin Laden, and he invited them into his lair, and that's where they go in and interview him, if you've seen that interview. And he says, and then the US government can't manage with $17 trillion to find him over all those years? You've been told the lie. And who are the benefits? How do you think the people in Washington got rich? They walk in with no money and they walk out with tens of millions of dollars. Do you guys understand what time we're in? You're like a Nancy Pelosi, and because they get blackmailed, they get so many of those people, bribes and blackmails, have both on those hands, and they can't speak like Trump. Where did the Epstein thing suddenly go to? Where did that go to? They were showing those alien things, and being hit by a Hellfire missile, and then the Epstein thing just suddenly disappeared. Come on, guys. I do believe that the land of Israel is God's land. He loves that land. He chose that land for Abraham and Moses and Joshua and David and Solomon and the judges and Ruth, and he took it away and he gave it to someone else. The age of grace began. So I'm going to play a video. I just want to see if there's anything else I want to say. And they also talk about JFK. And it's in this. I'm going to leave this in the description box because I'm not going to play the whole thing. I just want to prove that IDF soldiers are speaking out. Something to do with AIPAC. JFK wanted to make gold the standard, right? But I don't know if it's the Jewish assembly of something wanted to have AIPAC and whatever. They believe they killed him. I don't know the truth to that. But suddenly we're in a time where things are inescapable. Because there's so many recordings you can look back on. People like you and I can simply go to a video and find something that someone else didn't. That's the age we live in. There's pretty intelligent people out there who analyze and say, hey, at Charlie Kirk there was a drone. That drone was likely giving a clear line of sight for that shot. And why don't the pictures match of that shooter? They don't. A different nose, a different lips. You can see one's more full, that Tyler guy versus another guy. You know, the shoes look different. And in any case, this is what they've been doing ever since Joe Biden got in, confusing the world. You can't even remember what's true and what's not. In that Charlie Kirk video, there's two men. I haven't paid a lot of attention to the other end, but I saw it. They're speaking in code to each other by hand movements. So if you go back to the Charlie Kirk video, if you can find it, look for this specifically, man making hand signals. There's a man like 5 feet away from Charlie Kirk, about 5 seconds before he gets shot. And he goes like this. These are like Navy SEAL special ops teams, assassination team like things. He tips his hat, okay, in a weird way, like something like "get ready," and he tips his ear and he goes like this. Those are secret signs. Go look for it. Go look for that video. And then there's another guy very close who's doing the same. Very, very strange. And it's hard not to look and see that the people who benefit the most from this are the Jews. You can call them Jews. They're not really Jews. Jews are from the tribe of Judah, are they not? And I'm not even going to go into that. And they got mixed over a certain amount of time. Even the ones that have been in the land all that time, mixed with like Edom and like people like Herod, his ancestry, like the Edomites, Idumea, whatever you want to call it. It's impossible to trace that line anymore. Those that believe in Jesus Christ, that's how simple it is. That's how you're saved. So I'm going to play this and move around a bit. I'm going to have to fast forward and stuff to get to the points I want to make. This is a Jimmy Dore show. I don't care if you don't like this guy. Let's just hear what. So he's reading what. This is like a session in court, I guess, and he's reading what the words say on it because he's speaking a different language.
Suddenly, sirens. That was actually at least half engineered by Benjamin Netanyahu because he made sure that Hamas, which is the way more radical and militant group in Palestine, was the one that was funded over the PLO, which were secular and not as militaristic. So he wanted to make sure Hamas was propped up so that they could always say, we can't negotiate, they're terrorists. So he made sure they kept funding Hamas and not the PLO. And so when the attack happened, where were they? Where the most surveilled place in the world is Gaza, and Israel didn't respond for hours and hours to the attacks.
Oh,
Israel, not
hours and hours and hours to the attacks. I didn't finish that off. 6 hours? You're telling me they didn't respond for 6 hours? Okay. No, I don't believe that. So it was Benjamin Netanyahu who was testifying in some court to the Americans, I think, saying that, like he usually does, his usual manipulation of this is a fight against humanity, the Iraq war. And it was him who said they have weapons of mass destruction. It wasn't even true. You don't believe me? Please go research that. He's got his hands in so much stuff. And don't forget this. How could I forget to say this? Don't forget, before all this happened, October 7th, that the streets erupted. Remember? There were hundreds of thousands of people every single day, and it was getting worse, and it was going on for months to oust him. Don't forget that. So don't blame the people. Some people for sure, but don't have that hate in your heart that way. We're just searching for truth. Benjamin Netanyahu is evil. He even uses the Bible to justify the evils. I've heard it.
Not a lot of distance to drive.
That's a very tiny
The
country.
IDF told the ravers to go ahead. It's totally cool to rave next to
Go
the
ahead.
concentration
That's
camp.
right. Even though the security people warned the Israel military we shouldn't have this rave, they said go ahead with it because they wanted this to happen so they could use this as a pretext, the October 7th attacks, to go in and wipe out the people of Gaza and take over their land. That's what this was always about.
The Israelis know this, by the way, but they'll hide it from you because they still want your money.
So here, Israel Exposed tweets out this video of this IDF soldier telling the truth about it. He says that we received orders from the Golani Brigade commander on October 7th to cancel all patrols along the Gaza border from 5:20 a.m. to 9 a.m. Israeli soldier testifies to the Knesset committee. So they were told to stand down, and let's listen to it. So I'm just going to play this. Newsfist Happening TV got the English translation of this. So you can turn this down and I'll just say it.
Okay, so I believe with all my heart. You may not agree with me on this. I don't want to bring this into this, but I already know that Donald Trump is the Antichrist. Elon Musk is the false prophet with Neuralink and makes fire come down from heaven with his SpaceX rockets. Trump makes all the biblical descriptions of the Antichrist, and he's doing the things that the Antichrist would do, but people have a veil over their eyes right now. America is the beast of Revelation, and the whore who sits in scarlet with a filthy cup of abominations. And Bolson Outdoors, is it Bolson Outdoors? Yeah, you were trying to tell me that there is no presuppositions. I remember that. That Jesus said, it's where our Lord was crucified. That is Mystery Babylon. It's Jerusalem. That's what the Bible, the New Testament, Revelation says. Go look. Crazy. So I believe this is happening in real time, and I'm not spewing hate here, but it says they will hate her and burn her with fire. And you're wondering about Ezekiel and all these things. It's coming soon. I mean, what do you do when you have a country like Israel, their government, they're just bombing everywhere? What do you expect is going to happen? And you're bombing the U.S. top allies.
Oh, 6:30 in the morning on October 7th, you're at the outpost. For us, October 7th starts before 6:30, says this guy. I was a soldier in the mortar platoon of the Golani Brigade's 13th Battalion. And that night, myself, Yodav Sura, and Sergeant Tamar Ben Yehuda, may he rest in peace, the three of us were pulling an all-nighter. On Sabbath and holidays, we let ourselves pull an all-nighter until the dawn stand to. And you know, we in the mortar platoon have time to sleep until the next stand to. So at 5:20 a.m., we were sitting by the radio so as not to wake the radio operator. And my deputy battalion commander, who was also seriously injured, and thank God he survived, suddenly gets on the radio with a strange message. All stations, I don't know why, I don't know how, something along those lines. No patrol on the fence. And this is at 5:20 in the morning. All stations are to hold their positions. So in terms of ground forces, we don't have anything. Hang on, let me back this up. So in terms of ground forces and OREF, we don't have anything significant. The brigade issued a directive for our forces pending a situation assessment until 9 a.m.
Until 9 a.m.
So they're given a directive to stand down. Don't go do your patrols.
This is what Charlie Kirk said.
Why would they do that?
Stand down order.
There's a bunch of them saying it.
What's that?
There's a bunch of IDF saying this when this happened.
Yep.
This is the most surveilled place on earth.
Yes.
How in the hell would this happen? It's all people from the IDF going, what is this?
What exactly? So, no vehicle is to approach Burma.
So suddenly these people who have been patrolling the Gaza border, probably one of the more fortified places, are essentially being told to stand down. And these soldiers are confused right now because they've been gaslit about why. And they've questioned themselves because they don't know the truth. Because of course they're not going to be given the whole truth. So these people who do this every day of their lives are suddenly told at that time, of any time to do it, to stand down. And this is on Yom Kippur, wasn't it? So if any day you should be doing that, it was that day. Because they were attacked, what, in 67 and 74? When they surprised them on those days?
I'll say it again, until 9 in the morning, pending the situation assessment, no vehicle is to go down to Burma. We're in rear staging areas, a brigade level arrangement. I don't know exactly why. I don't ask too many questions. That's the directive. That's what we do. A little before.
So he's speaking out because he knows what happened was wrong, and he's confused and he's scared to talk about this. They could take him out.
Before it all begins, and Tomer gives us this look like, what? And you know, we're simple soldiers, just combatants, not commanders or officers who can ask questions. So when they were given this directive to not do your patrol and stand down, they were looking at each other like, what? But they're not officers, so they just have to follow orders. That's what he's saying. It's an order from the deputy. It's an order from the deputy battalion chief, deputy battalion commander. We take orders and don't ask questions. A routine passing of an order. And sure enough, an hour later, at 6:30 a.m., suddenly sirens. I've been living with this since October 7th. That's what he says.
I'll put this in the description box.
And I was very afraid to talk about this. And when I got to the Knesset, which is like the Israeli parliament, when I got to the Knesset, it was after a period when I asked some senior army officers what actually happened. And there were some who initially told me, listen, there was a sniper threat from Nukba on the fence. So we didn't want to send soldiers so they wouldn't get hit. So
they're saying there was a sniper.
And then over time, it kind of dawned on me. And I said, wait, if there's a sniper threat, how can it be that how about it be that I, who am only 200 meters from the fence, how can it be that I am only 200 meters from the fence, don't know that there's a threat? So if there really is a threat, I would be the first guy to know this. How can it be that my friends are fighting without a vest? So we should have bulletproof vests in their underwear and socks. And nobody knows that something, hang on, I gotta back it up. And nobody knows that something is happening. We're only 200 to 300 meters from the fence. And then that was on my mind again. And really, I was suddenly invited to the Knesset. I felt that this was the real opportunity to open this subject and talk about it and to actually understand what happened there. And look, like you're saying, to a lot of people, it sounds strange. And what actually happened there. And we're going back to this again. And I'll be honest, Hilla, he says, I've been living with this, some kind of hole in my brain since Oct.7. That something in my heart feels to me that, listen, I don't know what was there. I want to understand what happened like everyone. Look, the deputy battalion commander wasn't a sniper threat. Because the deputy battalion commander says, I have no idea why. And a sniper threat happens many times. He says this in real time. At 5:20 in the morning. It's not like someone told him to say that. He received an order without an explanation. And it's right. So we as soldiers, when we hear this thing, then of course we follow orders. It did sound a little strange to us, but soldiers in the field, and we've been on this line for almost half a year,
so they've been doing that for 6 months.
And a few losses here and there, you know, from a loss to Oct.7. There are cool losses, yes, from breaches of order, right, from breaches times, and we did the wounded. Yes, the injury, exactly, and also to reinvent yourself.
Sorry, I'm
to
just
move forward in life, not to dwell on it. Armed Hamas could then attack you and kill a bunch of your friends and people, so they could use that to A, keep Benjamin Netanyahu out of prison, and B, so they could then take over Gaza and steal all their land.
Did you hear
That's
that?
what this is about. So they
Massachusetts made
all stations. I don't know.
Netanyahu wouldn't go to prison.
That's right.
Because they're scum.
They don't know how many things every.
I'll find it again.
Talking the same what.
In real quick, that came out wrong, but he said he has a hole in his brain. Concentration camp that they armed to make this happen.
Yeah, there was a lot. The people that they armed, Hamas, could then attack you and kill a bunch of your friends and people. Not terrorists. And
so remember this. What was going on? This is what they do. They fill you with so much news and all over the place because, in my opinion, I believe that there's a lot of Jewish, if you want to call it that, sway in the media and television and all those things. So all those things you hear are true. I'm not saying they own everything. But the reality is that Netanyahu is about to go down politically after being in some type of power for a very long time. And you just have to go look back at those protests. They've probably scrubbed so many of those off the internet, but they were really adamant about taking him out of Parliament. And what would he have done? They were sick of him. And so listen.
And then they told you to stand down so that the people that they armed, Hamas, could then attack you and kill a bunch of your friends and people, so they could use that to A, keep Benjamin Netanyahu out of prison, and B, so they could then take over Gaza and steal all their land. That's what this is about. So you were lied to, again. It's not a complete false flag, but it's...
I'm not saying I agree with Jimmy Dore on what they were going to do with it.
Very close.
Yeah, well, I mean, a false flag means what? They just attack the...
So a false flag...
So there it is, there's
our
that.
enemy because they are supposedly...
So when you look around, there's a lot of propaganda all over the place, and what I'm serving to do is not to be part of that, although you're going to say this is just propaganda. No, I'm more about trying to find the truth. I'm sure you watch my channel, you know this by now, that I believe in being humble and truthful in all things, and to be more like Jesus Christ, and to point out the evils on this earth. It's okay to do that. You say, well, that's being part of the world, but hey, do you think Daniel the prophet, do you think that he would be trying to figure out these mysteries? Of course he would. I believe he would be doing this, and I think he would have figured it out long ago. But there's a lot of evil going on, and people trying to hold on to power, and it's so much worse when people are trying to hold on to power today versus back then, because the power that they have is so much more powerful. You get what I mean? There's more weapons, there's more tools like AI and governments, the reaches that they have. And you know what I heard? I heard that, and this is true, that even Donald Trump was a little bit worried about the sway of the Jewish nation, if you want to call it that. Just call it Israel. That they found on their emergency vehicles that they they're escort vehicles for Trump. They go around in the Beast, right? They call it the Beast. So and in those you call them emergency vehicles, they found IDF trackers implanted on them. So you wonder about, when Trump got shot, missed him just by a little bit, and that's what an enemy would do. They would track the movements of the president by putting GPS devices on their vehicles to know where exactly where they're going. Listen, I'm not saying they did that. I'm just giving you the truth of this. I believe there was a stand-down order. I also believe September 11th was Netanyahu who said that they had weapons of mass destruction. There was a lot of stuff destroyed. That was a World Trade Center. There were a lot of safes with a lot of secrets, things that just should never happen. The thermite, they found 8 tons of thermite, which should never be found and has never been found otherwise in other buildings that have been destroyed by fire and like that. It shouldn't have been there, the thermite. It'd be something if they found just a spoonful, but they found it all over the place, 8 tons. In the beams of the towers, they chopped up and shipped them to China, where they said this. At that time that they did it, steel was so expensive, it was the other way. It was so cheap at that time that it didn't make sense to send it to China with the shipping, that they actually lost money. So I'm just giving you a lot of different truths. You can put them together for yourself. And yes, I do believe there was, number one, a stand-down order then. And I do believe that their nation, their government does have a lot of sway over a lot of things, but I can't get into things I don't know about. This is about that. The only reason is because I saw the Israeli soldiers, but Charlie Kirk was getting close to the truth. And I already knew this already, man. I knew it in my heart that could not happen to the nation of Israel. They're like sensors all over, David's sling and their 3-system missiles,